It's finally finished, but we're still stuck in supernatural purgatory. This podcast is a rewatch of all 15 seasons and hopefully our way to finally escape this show.
Join us once a week for a fun, informal discussion on each episode and leave comments on any specific upcoming plot points you'd like us to discuss. I couldn't read for a second, but it's all good.
It's all good. So this week is the 6th episode, Skin. And I think we said last week, I remembered a little bit about this episode, but not a whole lot. So I did a little bit of research on it first. 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb, the same as last week for Bloody Mary, the same rating. The director is Robert Duncan McNeil. Do you know who this is, Annabelle?
So I don't know who it is, but I did look up some trivia, so I know who he is now.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a massive Star Trek fan. So Robert McNeil is Tom Paris, who obviously from Voyager. Yeah, I didn't know he directed. It's pretty interesting.
That's cool.
The writers were Eric Kripke and John Shaban. So I don't know if John's written anything yet for this series, but it feels like much the same as the other episodes, like in terms of writing style and stuff. So
I did a little bit of looking before we started recording, and the woman who plays Lindsay, who's the wife of the businessman.
Oh yeah.
She actually comes back in another episode in season 4.
Of course.
So I think this is a first instance of reusing an act. It's not an instance yet, but when it comes up, it's the first time that they would have reused an actress or an actor.
It happens a few times, doesn't it? I think
over so. The years. And like, I feel like so far the women in this show have a very certain look. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I agree with you.
So it's like she meets that look. That I feel like that changes eventually, but like right now it's very skinny white girl,
blonde as well. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Like I got to the end of this episode and I was thinking about recording this podcast, and I was like, this maybe would have been classed as a filler episode before, but not knowing what we know now, are there any filler episodes anymore?
I was thinking the same thing. That's really funny. Because so as we mentioned last week, that we both kind of remembered a little bit about this episode. I think you just mentioned it, but we kind of remembered it. And I do remember thinking, it's a bit of a throwaway episode.
Yeah.
But no. Do you think that's on purpose or it's happy coincidence?
I don't know. Like, because, definitely I probably would have cast this as a filler episode before. But, like, once you go into some of the conversations and things that are said, it's like, no, it's not. It's really important. It just builds on everything. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. I mean, there are some episodes coming up that are like really Monster of the Week episodes. I know this one is as well, but like, let's see. Are there filler episodes anymore in Supernatural, or is it all just building and building to this one story?
I think there must be, but maybe there has to be, right?
Yeah,
there has to be. Like, or are we going to start reading way too much into it? I mean, we're going to read too much into it.
We're going to read way too much into it. Like, we're going to just do it. It's fine. Man. This one hit me hard, like right in the heart.
Yeah.
And I think let's get into it. Let's go through sort of bit by bit, and we'll hit on it when we hit on it, because I hope people agree this is a really like interesting episode so early on. I think.
Yes, definitely.
Like, first thing, I feel bad for you watching this on Netflix, because the opening song in this episode, spot on. Like, I watched it again when I got to the end, and I was like, yes, So the opening song for me, I gotta try and say the name now, was Inagada Davida by Iron Butterfly, which is it's just classic. I did listen to the song that was on Netflix, but it doesn't have the same. It hits the beats of what's going on in the scene, because obviously like the SWAT team's coming to like help this woman, and beats in the music like when they're cutting through the lock and stuff like hit the same. So it's just
Dang. Well, I might just have to shell over some dosh and get just take the plunge and get the seasons 1 through 13 and just sell it and then get the next one.
Look up that song and then play it over the Netflix version.
I could do that. I could do that too. I'm sure somebody out there has been very naughty and uploaded that onto YouTube. So
what? Yeah.
We're in St. Louis, Missouri. And this woman is gagged and tied to a chair. And I just wrote knife because it's like super close up to the knife. She's been like tortured and beaten.
It's nasty.
It is. It's
scary for supernatural.
It was scary in a like this is what humans can do to each other rather than like what monsters can do to each other.
That's true. I didn't think of it like that.
But like I said, the SWAT team comes in with the awesome music, which I'm very jealous about, I must say. And you don't see who the human is at this point. It's just like kind of see like an outline and like, oh, it could be this person or it could just be a random person.
Yeah.
But then you turn, the person turns, flashlights on his face. Oh, it's Dean.
It's Dean. Yeah. I think I had a flashback, like, I don't know, to my younger self watching this and being like,
yeah, me too.
So okay.
Yeah. And then we cut to 1 week earlier.
Like
I have
classic.
to say, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of these types of things. Like Supernatural does it kind of a lot. A lot of TV shows do this a lot. Yeah. But I mean, it's a very impactful beginning, and it like really draws you in. But like, I feel like some of the build up to it kind of gets lost because you have in your mind that this is going to happen.
Yeah. And
then you're just like, okay, let's get to why this happens rather than like enjoy. At least I might just be impatient. This could be very true. And also the fact that we've watched this before, so we know what's coming. Yeah. It kind of takes out that like mystery of it a little bit.
I'm a perfect viewer, I think, because I'm kind of, I don't know, a bit dumb. Like, they'll show me something that happened and then say 1 week earlier, I'll just watch the episode. And then when they get back to the point that it was the beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. It was only like 20 minutes ago.
That's another thing I wanted to bring up. This episode, in actual length, is actually very short. It's only 40 minutes.
Was it? I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like 40 minutes and like 10 seconds, whereas usually it's like 42 to 44.
I don't know if they're doing this on Netflix, but I know when they originally aired it and on the DVD versions, at the beginning of every episode, there's a recap. Have you been seeing that?
They have a recap too, yeah.
So I don't know if that's shortening it very slightly, but I didn't notice it was a little bit shorter.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the 1 week earlier, they're in a like gas station and they're going somewhere. I didn't catch all the places that Dean said that they were going, but they're obviously planning their journey to the next spot.
But so I had a question about this. Was it ever indicated to, like in the last episode, like where they were going?
I don't think so.
Because
no.
Like it's really clear that Dean has a plan. Like, we're going to go to this place, we're going to get here on this time, and then we're going to like I said, I didn't catch the town names either.
Yeah,
and I was just like, wait, where are they going? Why are they going?
But it wasn't in the last episode either, because they only went to that place because they found the story in a newspaper. Like at the end of Phantom Traveler, they didn't have any direction on where they were going. So Are they just skipping from town to town now, kind of waiting to hear anything from John? That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Yeah. And like we haven't heard about like the Hunter Network yet, so like as a person who knows about it now, like you can kind of see that that's possibly what they're doing. Like they're going to their contacts.
Yeah, possibly.
Or maybe they're, I don't know, obviously they refer to the journal a lot, so maybe they're looking at the journal at previous places and it's like, oh, maybe Dad's going to be here or whatever. I don't know.
It definitely seems to be following, like there was a plan, like Dean's following some kind of plan, but yeah. I mean, it all gets scuppered anyway because Sam gets not a text, an email on his phone with has a stylus.
His Palm Pilot.
Is that what that is? I was like, is it a BlackBerry? Like,
no,
I don't remember this technology.
It was really big in America. Yeah,
I don't think people had them in the UK. I don't remember them.
They went like, I feel like in the UK it went from like the keypad straight to like the iPhone like style.
Yeah,
like, we went like in between.
Nokia, BlackBerry, iPhone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I wrote that Sam has a whiny baby face, but I guess that's his constant because it is. It's like he looks really annoyed, and I was
that's
like,
his concentrating face. Don't be rude.
And then I wrote, it's his concentration face. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is.
So I was just like, oh, because you know how we said at the end of last week that we kind of hoped that, because in the last episode, Sam started to gain his appeal. And when I saw his face here, I was like, oh no, they've taken a step backwards, but they didn't.
Yeah, I thought this is a good Sam episode. This is a good Sam and Dean episode. we had our Dean episode, we had our Sam episode. Now we're having like a mishmash. I don't know, mishmash. Yeah. So he gets his email from a friend from Stanford, and she's saying that her brother's been arrested, so he wants to go and help. And they have a really interesting conversation here where Dean's talking to him about lying to people, and you know, the fact that maybe he shouldn't be in contact with his friends anymore. He is just lying to them by still keeping in contact and saying that he's on a road trip with his brother.
Oh, so you lie to him?
No, I just don't tell him everything.
Yeah, that's called lying.
So this episode, at the beginning I was like, oh, okay, I think this episode is about telling the truth, right? And what lies you tell.
Yeah.
Because it comes up a few times about, you know, like Sam maybe lying to his Stanford friends, and I think Dean just wants him to leave it, like just cut himself off. Yeah.
It is kind of interesting that, you know, Dean is claiming that you have to cut yourself off from people, and just he basically told them that they have to be antisocial while being a hunter.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Dean is also extremely charming.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that's a little, you know, disconcerting, because like maybe he wants to be social, and we kind of get a little bit of that later on in the episode. So maybe it's not really like the sociopath that I was kind of thinking of at the beginning of this, because it is very like, it's like, ooh. But it's self, I don't want to say self-isolation. Well, yeah, self-isolation, rather than like being antisocial because you don't know how to communicate with people, and then turning on charm. So I guess it's a little bit different.
It's a choice at that point. I think he even says like you can't get too close to people.
In a job like this, you can't get close to people, period.
So I thought this was kind of funny. So they discuss the email. They kind of go back and forth on like, let's not take the case, let's take the case. And I thought it was kind of funny, like the shot that they have afterwards of the like Drive Safe America, and I was like, it's filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
They found this rusted out sign, or they made this rusted out sign, and
just for that one little shot. Yeah. So much work. Right, we do.
I mean, that's what prop designers get paid for, right?
That's true. Yeah, it's a good old job. So they rock up to Becky's house. I thought it was funny because Dean's like, I don't want to go, and Sam's like, no, we gotta go. And then it's just a shot of them driving off in that direction. Like, okay, Sam goes away then.
Yeah, because he's saying Dean doesn't want to go because it's 400 miles in the opposite direction.
I don't think I've ever driven that far, but
I've been in the car, but I've never driven.
I can't imagine. It would do my head in. Like, it's so boring. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish. This is off topic. I wish they'd done an episode of them just driving. Like, I know they did the episode of Inside the Impala, but I wish they'd done an episode of just them doing a road trip from one place to another. I don't know why I would have found that really funny. Just stopping at motels, like, where do they eat? What are they talking about for like 400 miles?
I mean, they I was gonna say, when they have the bunker, they basically eliminate the need for the car, which is kind of sad.
Yeah,
because they could have done it that way. I forgot about the Impala episode. That was a really cute one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. So they arrive at Becky's house. Her parents are in Paris, conveniently. So she's got this huge house by herself. And they are discussing about her brother's case, that he's being, he turned up at his girlfriend's house and she was dead, like tied up. And then he called the police and got arrested because there was security footage showing him arriving at the house when the murder took place, even though he was with Becky.
So I just, going back a little bit to like the house thing, I don't know how aware you are of like Ivy League schools. Actually, it's not Ivy League, it's like the equivalent on the West Coast.
Yeah.
They are basically like Oxford and Cambridge. Okay. So it's like the rich go there. So it's not actually unusual that she has this giant house and her parents are in Paris. Like it's actually very in keeping that not everybody who goes to Stanford is very wealthy, but there is a very large portion that go.
And I guess it's showing the other side of Sam's friends, right? Because his family are very like, I guess they would be like working class, like blue collar. So it's also showing that it's maybe a bigger achievement that he got into Stanford as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he does say that he got in on a scholarship, which is obviously the only way he was ever going to get in with a hunter's lifestyle. But yeah, so it's just a little side note on that.
So, so they want to go see the crime scene for Becky's brother Zach, like where his girlfriend was killed, and like she goes with it quite easily because Sam says, "Oh yeah, Dean's a cop, like it's fine, we'll just go to this closed crime scene," which like once they get there is clearly still active. And Dean just goes with this lie again, like lies and truth.
Dean's a cop.
A detective, actually.
But he's still not convinced that this is even a case. Like, he thinks probably that her brother just did it, I guess, and she's covering for him, or something.
So it's kind of interesting. Do you think if it wasn't Sam's friend, they would have already maybe possibly explained that it could have been a monster at this point?
I don't think so, because like when she says, "Oh well, he would have had to be in two places at once," like Dean gives Sam kind of like a knowing look, like, "Oh, maybe this is our thing." But then later says, like, he still doesn't think it's a case. So I don't think they would have said anything at this point about it possibly being, like, supernatural. I think they would have done more investigation, because I think it's still not clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you look at the formula of the other episodes, it's usually not the first conversation with, like, the victim's kin that the monster theme is brought up.
Yeah, sorry, because it's not like confirmed that it definitely is, and it wasn't just a murder.
Yeah.
So they go to the crime scene. It's like I said, it's very bloody. There's still like the little signs up, with the numbers on. So it's obviously still being worked, which is really bad because they're now like messing with evidence. Pointing that out. They said there's like no sign of a break-in. And during this whole scene, there's a dog barking in the background, which I initially thought, like, why is there a dog barking? But they do address it later on. But they say, like, some important things to, like, hint that it might be something a bit weird, that there was, like, no sign of a break-in, and that the week before, someone had broken in as well and stolen some of Zach's clothes, which kind of makes sense once you know what the monster of the week is. They also, the dog thing was weird, and I don't think I'd know why it was in the episode, because the dog's barking, and she's like, "Oh, it used to be a really sweet dog, until the murder.
Animals can have a sharp sense of the paranormal.
Yeah, maybe Fido saw something.
Right, yeah. Well, so I think it's basically the EMF finder without, because it's not a ghost, so they're trying to like convince, because like you said, Dean still doesn't believe it's anything. So I think it's a little bit of a plot point, like a plot further, whatever. So I wrote here that, like, because they call the dog Fido, and I swear they refer to any dogs later on as Fido as well. But
yeah, but it's just
I could be wrong.
I guess it's like a pop culture reference, right? Like dogs are called
it
that.
is.
Maybe, but like because it's really funny because they set up a formula here of like Sam explaining something really complicated and then Dean just summing it up. Like, you know, he says, "Well, animals have a sense of paranormal," and Dean says like, "Oh yeah, well Fido must have seen something." Like, I kind of like that formula, and they do it a lot in Star Trek, where someone will say something really, really complicated, and then someone will just sum it up like, "Oh yeah, it's like this." I kind of enjoy that dynamic. I don't know.
I guess it's coming back to like the whole thing of Sam's supposed to be what is incredibly smart. Dean is more like street smart, so Sam's going to explain like the minute detail, whereas Dean's just going to be like, "Oh yeah, it's this," and it's like, "Yeah, but it's this because of all of this," and he's like, "Yeah, but it's still this."
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely get it. Yeah, he's our summing up guy.
Yeah. So, did you notice the zoom? The zoom.
What zoom? No, I didn't see the zoom. Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
It zooms into a picture of Zach. Like, it's super, 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 it's really gradual. It's not like a dramatic one. Yeah. But it's like, it's the picture on the fridge, and it's like Zach and Sam, and it's slowly zooming into Zach's face.
Yes! Okay. Because I was like, oh, there wasn't one in this episode. And then, yes. No, I saw it. I didn't peg it as a dramatic zoom, but it was certainly a zoom. I'll give you that.
I mean, it was the only, like, this is maybe grasping at straws a little bit, because it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like a whoosh. It was like a.
I love me a zoom. I do.
And I did kind of like the transition of like it's being the picture of Zach, and then it's Zach's face.
Yeah, exactly. So we see him like watching some people outside a hotel, and just creepy watching people, like watching your next victim kind of thing.
Yeah, more likely.
Also, it gives him the chance to like show his face, and then his eyes change. And I wrote, like the dog from Goosebumps.
You know, I have not watched Goosebumps in forever, so I would have not even thought about that. That's really funny.
I was so scared of that as a child.
No, Goosebumps was not a favourite of mine either.
But they're not exactly the same. I think the dog from Goosebumps has like cat eyes. This is, I don't know, their eyes go kind of luminescent, I guess.
Yeah, it's silver. I feel like it's silver with like a very constricted pupil.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think you're completely right. So they like after we see his eyes go all like weird, there must have been an ad break, and it cuts back to the like Sam and Dean watching the security tape with Becky, and the same thing happens. So we see her brother go into the house, and then Sam manages to slow down the footage, and he looks at the camera, and we see the same creepy glowy eyes. So
it freeze frames on Zach's face, and there's something about it that like it reminds me of like I want to say caricature devil, but it's not quite what I mean. There's an image of I can see the image of the devil. I'm thinking of I remember from X-Men Future Past.
Okay.
I don't remember what the mutant's name is, and I feel bad. Well, no, I don't feel bad because he's one of the bad guys. He's the red version of Nightcrawler, so he can do the same thing, but he's red. He looks exactly the same, and I think he has the same kind of eyes as well. Oh. They may be yellow instead of silver, but there's just something about the like facial structure and the beard and everything. I was just like, like that was the image that kind of came to mind.
It's very like weirdly zoomed in on his face, like creepy smile, creepy eyes kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think here they're suggesting that it's maybe a doppelganger. They're not saying like shapeshifter yet.
No.
I think Sam says it here and he says it again later, like a dark double, which is just a weird phrase to me. Like, is that a thing in our universe that he's seen before, where you have like an evil twin? That's the only thing I could think of. Like,
so I feel like I don't think it's necessarily a confirmed thing, but maybe like a urban legend kind of thing.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Rather than like which is basically everything they're chasing. But like even still, like I feel like in the beginning seasons they find real urban legends they find urban legends that come to light or come to truth or whatever. Like the Bloody Mary episode. Like it's a legend, but nobody knows if it's real. Well, they found a real version of it.
Yeah, of course. It makes sense in this kind of show that they would choose those familiar things first to draw people in before introducing their own lore and stuff to make it a bit kooky and out there. So we find that the people that Zach was, watching, the guy comes home and finds his wife tied up and then sees his double, who smacks him over the head with a plank of wood. So confirming that theory, kind of, that it's someone who looks like them.
So I really liked this scene. I thought it really built up tension, like, really well. Yeah. The way that they used the door, like, leaving the door ajar and only being able to see a little bit and, like, using the door frames to, like, cut off vision. I found myself kind of leaning to be like, I want to see what's there. So I found that, like, it did a really good job with building up the, tension. So yeah, I thought, and it was also really sad that like his wife was like, please don't hurt me anymore.
No, that's awful. Like, it doesn't really address that in this episode at all, that this like shifter is turning into people that they trust and then hurting. That's terrible. Like
it's kind of a little bit alluded to, I guess, when a little bit later on in the episode. But like you don't hear what's said.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah, they go. So Sam and Dean go back to the crime scene. They're looking around. I think that it's supposed to be really early in the morning. It doesn't look that early in the morning. Maybe
it's not. So I did actually look it up because I was really it frustrated me. Also, did they use a different Impala? Because the wing mirrors look different to me. Like, that was the first, when they pulled up, that was the first thing I noticed.
Only
I was like,
you would notice that. I didn't see that at all. I mean, they do have several, so maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
No, I
forgot what I was going to say. Oh, so I looked up, because I was like, it's 5:30 in the morning? Yeah. That does not look like 5:30 in the morning.
No.
And the only way that this could actually be slightest bit, like a little bit of like flex of reality, was if it was like the summer solstice, which I don't think it is, because sunrise is at 7:37, or it was last year.
I don't think it's supposed to be
5:37.
Because remember when Dean first picks up Sam at Stanford, it's just been Halloween, so it's winter, right?
Yeah, and I mean Jessica dies November 2nd.
Yeah, so but maybe they were going to put a filter on it to make it look a bit more like nightimey, and they just didn't.
Maybe. We also know that a couple months has passed though as well. That's because true. They do mention that I can't remember which episode it was. I think it was Dead in the Water, that they're like, we've been looking for him for a while now.
Yeah.
So time has passed, but I don't think it's like middle of summer, because if it was,
some of these they'd be losing choice.
Yes.
Yeah. So they turn up. We establish again that Dean is not a morning person. He is very grumpy about being up at supposedly 5:30 in the morning.
All right. So what are we doing here at 5:30 in the morning?
They are looking. So Sam's realised that in the security footage that the person goes into the house and doesn't come back out again. And then because the police arrested someone inside the house, they never looked around it. So he's looking for the exit of the second person. So he finds some blood, and then literally like an ambulance goes past, and I guess they follow it.
Yeah.
I don't know how they knew that ambulance was on the way to something important or related, but
I mean, I think it's more of like a deduction type of thing, because like what's that's such a huge coincidence that, you know, this murder just happened here, and like because it looks like they're actually more on like an alleyway rather than a main road.
Mm-hmm.
So like it would be very unusual for an ambulance to go down an alleyway unless it was close to where they needed to be.
That's true, yeah. So they kind of like rock up to the next crime scene then, essentially, and are asking around what's happened, and they say like, oh, it's really bad, like a husband murdered his wife.
So I don't know if you noticed this. This is like the extra who played the police officer. He kind of gives up with unraveling the tape and just like lets it go, and then just pulls it.
No, I didn't see that.
And I was like, it was clearly like they probably only wanted to do it in like one take or whatever. Yeah. So they just let it in, because you know usually it's like on a roll and they just like pull it, but it was like a specific length for how long he needed it, and he just like he couldn't unravel it at one point, so he just drops it and just like starts pulling it out.
I love extras in the backgrounds of things. My one I always think of is that guy sweeping with his broom like a foot off the ground.
I saw that and I just had to make a note of it because it made me laugh so hard. It took me completely out of the episode.
Yeah, of course. So this is the thing that finally convinces Dean that this is a case, though. Not the weird eyes. Not the policeman unraveling the tape. But, he goes and talks to a police officer, and he's like, oh, well, this is definitely our thing, because the guy was still driving while his wife was murdered, even though he was there. So he finally is on board, I guess. It took a little while.
So, and then like Sam is explaining, like, so he like Sam's looking at other evidence in the back, and he's like looking at in the rolly bins and stuff like that, the bigger street trash cans,
a dumpster, if you will.
Well, it's not really. It's not a dumpster because it's not. It's like personal. So whoever lives in those apartments, they put it in there. Yeah, it's a wheelie bin. But not everybody's gonna know what a wheelie bin is.
Sorry.
And like, so he opens one, whatever. Then he opens the second one, and I'm wondering if like, I don't know how comfortable they are on set yet, but I'm wondering if like the prop people put something in there for him to like do a double take. Because he does a really long look, and I was just like, what is in there? Because it like, usually when you do that, it's like because there's something important, but it's not. Yeah. It's just like he looks in it and he like looks in again, and then he just sort of leaves it. I was like, what was in there?
That's so good. That's so good.
Because like, you know, in later seasons, that's the kind of stuff that they start to do.
Yeah, really, yeah, definitely.
So I wonder if this was the beginning of the end. And also, so, you know, Dean comes back, tells him that this is their case, yada, yada, yada. The tone that Sam takes to explain this next part, I was like, this is such a, like, procedural cop show tone. Just, it was so, like, I really can't describe it other than, like, being almost like a teacher, I guess. It was very, very weird. I was like, it didn't sound like Sam. It was just like, I don't know. It was very, very
just
bizarre.
Explaining something very like, just doing it, just getting the information out there, kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, this is where they start to say that they're gonna Sam says shapeshifter first, and they talk about other shifters. So they mention skinwalkers and werewolves. Which makes me think if they've come across werewolves before, because like they do shift a bit, but not like fully, right? So maybe, I don't know.
So again, it may have been that they possibly didn't, but they read about it in John's journal. So they do
just
know,
like last time. Yeah.
They do know about it. I thought it was kind of weird that like Sam asks if in any of the law, if any of them can fly, which is kind of an interesting, like, I don't know, maybe it says something about them, because Dean replies, no, not really, or something along the lines, but, you know, he said they may not go up, but they could go down.
Well, there's another way to go. Down.
Do you think that's a reflection of their character, maybe?
Please. Hey. Getting into the deep stuff now. You know? I love that. I think that's too deep, but I love it, and I'm going to keep it and say yes, that's definitely foreshadowing.
Yeah, me too.
So Dean realizes that it's going in the sewers, and then the next shot is just them in the sewer, and I was like, how did they... Right, first of all, they're very close to a crime scene. There are a lot of police around. It is in the middle of the day because it is light outside, despite what they're saying. And how did they open a sewer grate and get in there without anybody noticing or being like, what are you doing?
Well, so like I said, it's in an alley, so the commotion's happening at the top of the, because it looks like it's on a T road, I guess.
Yeah.
So they come down that one street, and then they're like, so everybody's going to be looking where the police are, and not necessarily where they are. So
yeah, okay, all right.
No, I get but I do get where you're coming from though, because it is kind of like, they're not quiet, they're heavy, so like someone's going to look over and be like, what are they doing? Yeah. It's not, because usually they put like cones out and stuff to say like, you know, it's going to be open, blah blah blah.
I just think like they could very much invest in at this point in some high-vis jackets, and they would get away with a lot more stuff without me asking questions about it, because you'll let everyone do anything in a high-vis jacket. You know. But yeah,
well, so we've also established that they are not that prepared for for their aliases at this point. Mm-hmm. Like they don't really have that. Like they have every weapon in the book, but they don't have a vest.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So they go into the sewers and they find the sludge. That's what I'm going to call it. The sludge.
I call it goop. Skin goop.
Ooh, skin goop. Oh no, I quite like that. Goop.
So this is the only thing I remembered from this episode.
Yeah, same.
When Dean takes his knife and picks up the wad of skin / hair goop stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, no, thank you.
It's gross. This episode's gross. It's gross.
Yeah, it gets worse from there, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. So they find the goo. And they kind of say, I think Dean mentions that it might shed with each time it changes shape, which is a good deduction. And then they go back out. They're going to go to. Oh, so we see the trunk again. Ooh, okay. I have thoughts about the trunk in this episode, but they go find it again, and this time you just see a close up, I think, of Dean's hands as he's loading silver bullets into a gun, and they don't even consult the journal. He's like, no, we know how to deal with shifters. We shoot them in the heart with a silver bullet.
Well, one thing I learned from Dad, so no matter what kind of shapeshifter it is, there's one sure way to kill it.
Silver bullet to the heart.
That's right.
So it's kind of interesting. They seem to know how to deal with a lot of these creatures for the past couple of episodes, with the ghosts and stuff. They know how to deal with it. It's more for ghosts, they needed to do the research to find out who the ghost was, whereas this, because it's an actual being, they just need to find it. Exactly. Rather than research it, because they know, they know how to kill it. It's just a couple of silver bullets right in the heart.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. And then Sam gets a phone call from Becky because she found out that they were lying about Dean being a cop, which was pretty, that would have taken a couple of phone calls to figure out, because Sam kind of dropped him in it there, because I don't imagine that Dean has any ID that says Detective Dean Winchester on it.
No, probably
off the top of my head, I can't imagine that exists in this glove box.
Because usually they use their real first names, but not their last names.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's kind of interesting, following the formula, which gets dropped later on, which I thought was kind of interesting. Is that in every single episode they get exposed for not being the thing that they said they have been.
Yeah, every single episode they've been called out on it. They're really not good at it now.
No.
I know they get better at it later, but really not good at it now. So she's saying that they've messed up her brother's case, and Sam says that he's just trying to help, but like she's right. They went to that crime scene. They messed with evidence.
The thing is, like, if anything, no, I guess I was gonna say, like, because Sam was on his way to becoming a lawyer, and like some lawyers do investigative work.
Yeah, but like,
so,
you need permission,
like,
right?
You do. So, like, why wouldn't they have gone that direction?
Yeah,
with
maybe.
it? And like, maybe you have to present like some sort of.
The thing is, they're
something.
also young still in this.
Yeah.
That I think that if you tried to pose being like his defense attorney or whatever, they'd been like, "Why are you like a 22-year-old trying a murder case?"
You could also say that you're like a paralegal, which is someone who's not a lawyer yet, but they're working towards it. But anyway, that's just technicalities. It's not really that big a deal. Not really. And like I said, it kind of keeps in line with the being exposed in every episode.
Like every time. I mean, Dean's saying like, "This is why you lie to your friend," and he reiterates it again. He says like, "We're not like other people."
I hate to say it, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. You lie to your friends because if they knew the real you, they'd be freaked. It's just, it'd be easier
if I was like you.
Hey man, like it or not, we are not like other people.
Yeah,
it's interesting, and the parallels in this episode between Dean and the shifter. I'm getting into it now, but I'll wait a bit. It's good. It's French, like chef's kiss. Good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean that sibling moment between them is actually, it's kind of powerful in a little bit, in a little way, because he's trying to be like, hey, no, like, I'm trying to tell you this kind of thing.
I think Dean's trying to protect Sam here because he kind of knows that he can't hold on to his old life.
Yeah,
and that the longer he does, it's just gonna kind of be more painful when he has to give it up. So maybe it's just the best to just cut it off now, rip it off like a plaster, and like get it over and done with.
For those of you who don't know.
I'm loving this. He does say like, "Oh well, this job comes with its perks," and gives him a gun.
Yeah. When he says that, I'm like, but really, in America, anybody can have a gun, so it's not really that much of a perk. Like, is it the shooting people that's the perk? That's kind of weird.
That's kind of weird.
Or shooting creatures.
Yeah. I guess it's the cool stuff they have, like
yeah.
But anyway. So they go back to the sewers again, and they find more goop. They find clothes and stuff. And then suddenly the shifter like appears behind them, still in the businessman get up. And I don't know what he does to Dean, because it looked like he just smacked him in the face. But then he's like holding his arm, like he hurt his arm. Did you notice?
So I think what happened was that, because they're next to the like giant pipes, so I think he got hit in the head and like with such force that he like smacked his arm in a weird way.
Yeah, I thought he was holding his arm way too much for how much it looked like he got hurt. I know it's a plot point, but but
yeah, I think it's basically that's what it comes down to. So the way that Sam says Dean, when the monster's behind him, that invoked so many feelings.
Dean!
So many feelings. Like, that is the defining sound of their like it's Sammy and the way they say Dean. Like those two things are like, something bad has just happened.
Yeah.
Especially later on. It gave me chills, so I was like
yeah. I can hear it now. I can hear Sam shouting, Dean. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's really, you hear it so many times, and every time something bad has happened.
Yeah. And in the scale of like how bad it could be, this one is definitely like a 1. So like it was gentle instruction to like what that word's gonna do, the way that word is said is gonna do to you later on.
Don't set it as your notification on your phone, because you just have mild little palpitations through the rest of the day. Also, this is the first. I feel like this is the first time Dean says "son of a bitch."
Get the son of a bitch.
Has he said it before? Did he say it before? I
think he said it before. I'm not sure though. But did you notice a massive eye roll that he does?
Yes.
I just wrote epic eye roll.
Epic eye roll. So
because he was talking about like because his arm was injured, so
yeah,
like,
he was annoyed. So he like Sam chases the like shifter out of the sewers. Dean kind of follows a bit more slowly because he really hurt his arm, guys.
Acting.
And then they managed to climb out of the sewer. Now this time people did clock them, kind of, as they were walking past. So there was one guy that walked past, just like didn't look at them at all.
Well, so I mean, the way that Sam like hid his gun was so like, oh, I'm not holding anything. I'm just gonna keep my hand in my jacket, like I've got something in my armpit, like.
Like as they were, because they split up to chase this like shifter. As they run like around the streets, it's dark and there are lots of people. Sam looks incredibly shady. Like he's got his hand in his jacket, like he has a gun, which he does. Like, but I mean, Dean looks like he's doing something though, because he has his like gun out in like you can see it, but he's holding it like a cop would, or. You know, so he's not getting as much reaction maybe from people.
Well, so I was thinking back on this actually, just literally right now. If you think about it, so Dean has been like handling guns all his life, whatever. Mm-hmm. But Sam has given up that life, so it probably is ingrained, like how to handle it. I don't know. I've never held a gun. Don't really ever intend to. Mm-hmm. So it could be just more of like. Oh yeah, I need to hide this because this is not okay kind of thing. So he's not really prepared. Because Dean has like a slot in his like jacket to put it in, whereas Sam doesn't. So that's why he has to like hold it in a weird way. Like why? I mean, I guess he can't really put it in the back of his jeans like he did the first time because he needs it if he sees the shifter. But it's just like.
They really should be carrying holsters. This goes back to the bungee cord thing. Like, unprepared. They never really do have them either. Like, wear a shoulder holster. What's the problem?
Yeah, or like, even like belt holsters.
Yeah.
Because surely, because this is based in America, having like a gun in public, especially in the states that they are going to be in, is really not that big of a deal. Like, you can get concealed carry permits and stuff, so like, why they always have to put it in the back of their jeans and not in a safe place, I will never know.
I guess they're hiding it from the monsters.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyway, so like Sam doesn't find the shifter, but and then Dean catches up with him, and they say, oh, I had no luck to not finding him, blah 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 blah. And then as they're crossing the road, a car goes in front of Dean, and the headlights flash into his eyes, and he's a shifter. This is what I mean about forgetting what happened at the beginning of the episode, because I was like, oh, I didn't realise it was now.
That's funny, because you saying that, I was like, I wrote here, this is why I don't like flashback episodes. So we had two very different reactions to that.
Yeah, I have a good memory.
And so they go back to the car and they have like a confrontation. So Sam first asks a question of like, what monster did their dad fight in this city or whatever? And he's like, oh, it's this, blah blah blah. So like, you can tell that Sam has doubts, which also kind of brings to mind, like, when do they start testing each other for things? Because they get to a point where they're like, oh, so if you're, because I swear they say if you're not a shifter, then you can cut yourself with this silver knife.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm wondering when they start to figure that kind of stuff out, and like holy water and stuff like that. So it's just a little observation there.
I guess probably from now, because this is the first time that they've been personally kind of affected by the monster. So it would make sense that they do it from this point onwards, right? But I don't know how he clocks him, because I know he asked him the question, but before that he asks Sam to throw him the keys, and I don't know if I think that's when Sam gets suspicious.
Yeah,
I think it's just the way, and it's said it's maybe not very a Dean-like way to say something.
So when he asked that, I thought, because I got that too, I thought maybe it's because Dean originally had the keys. And I was like, that's kind of an obvious thing. And then he actually throws the keys and he catches it with his left hand, which is the arm that's been injured.
Yeah, he was clutching so tightly. Yeah.
And the monster / Dean's response is actually kind of funny. It's actually very in keeping with Dean. Like, you want me to cry about it?
Yeah. Like, the thing is, I feel like they shouldn't have shown the eyes at the like before, and let you still think that it was Dean for a bit, because I knew that if they hadn't shown us the eyes, I knew it wasn't Dean when he opened the boot and he didn't prop it up with a shotgun.
Oh, I didn't pick that up. I would probably caught it with the way that he smiled at everything that was in that case.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I think they should have let us figure it out for ourselves for a while, or like, you know, have suspicions like Sam does, like, you know, because he was asking the questions like, oh, maybe he thinks he's a shifter. Like, they should have let us figure it out for ourselves a little bit.
Definitely.
But what's in the boot? You know me, what's in the boot? So I put, it doesn't prop it open with a shotgun. There's a wooden cross in there and some stakes. The grenade launcher's in there. There's a stone cross, an axe, and lots of guns. But I was like, the grenade launcher's in there.
Do you think that's what the monster is smiling at, the grenade launcher?
I think it was just the plethora of stuff.
Weapons.
Yeah, because like, this monster kills people, so there's a lot of ways in this trunk to kill a person. You know? This is true.
And then there's that whole there's a confrontation between Sam and Dean, which again is like super, super intense. Like the way that like the monster is really playing on like, well, shoot me then if you think I'm not your brother. Like, I was just like, damn,
You're not my brother.
Why'd you pull the trigger then? Because you're not sure. Dude, you know me.
Don't.
You wouldn't know, would you? You just, I don't
know.
Because he's not 100%, he's sure, but he's not 100% sure.
And then it's a shovel to the face.
Yeah. So yeah, Sam gets captured and tied up in the sewers. Oh, this scene.
But no, yeah, this whole next scene is like killed me.
I'm
being honest.
I'm going to start about technical things first. I really enjoyed the lighting in this scene, like the red-orange lighting on Dean's face. I said, this looks like Dean from, I don't know, season 12. Like, he looks, I want to say, it's weird because I want to say like himself. I know he is. But you know, as I think, I think of like Dean as older now, because we've been so like watching this show for so long. I think of him as he is in later seasons, you know, a bit more grizzled.
Yeah, he's definitely like this monster is super angry, and we've spoken about this, that we have said that like Dean gets angrier with each season, whereas like in this so far he's been kind of laid back, very smiley, like very flirtatious. This is the first time that we really see that like truly darker side of Dean's character, like of what his character could be. It's
so familiar, and I at this point, if you were watching this without knowing anything about what's going to happen, you would see it as a real shift in character. But it didn't feel like that to me when I was watching it. I felt like I was watching an older version of Dean. Oh, it hurts.
It does, and like especially the confrontation with Sam in that way, because like if you think of like the episode before the episode that will not be named, you know, that confrontation, it was very much the same. That same level of like anger was definitely there.
So
and resentment.
They kind of establish here that the shifter has like a mental link to whoever they're posing as. So I think the line's really blurred here between what is the shifter saying, you know, is their feelings, and what are Dean's feelings.
That's kind of interesting. I didn't pick up on that, but as you say that, you know, I think this is how I'm seeing it. Like, to me, this was a subtle shift to Dean's perspective at this point.
Yeah.
I say that because so he's just taken over this body, so maybe he is more Dean than he is himself.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
So, like, and that's why he, like, clutches the side of his head, because he's, like, trying to combat, like, he's trying to take control, maybe, of, like, being himself and Dean, and, like,
that's
trying
really
to merge the two together.
That's really interesting.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, it's a good one, and I think, like, Jensen did a really good job of acting this one out, because the shifter is still Dean. Like, they established the, like, mental link or whatever, but just in some of the very subtle mannerisms, like, it's not smiling as much, like, his face is very neutral, whereas, like, that's Dean's normally very animated. Just a few little things that you can kind of tell that it's not Dean. But I mean, the conversation here,
yeah. I mean, it basically confirmed everything that we had spoken about before. Like, he was jealous, he is resentful, and, like, you know, he had dreams of his own.
I mean, I had to stay home with Dad. You don't think I had dreams of my own? But Dad needed me.
It's interesting that he doesn't mention what those dreams were.
Yeah.
But, you know, he wanted to have a life, but
he was stuck with his dad. He was left behind, I think is what he says. Left behind with John. And although he did everything that he asked of him to do, he still abandoned him as well.
Me? I know I'm a freak. And sooner or later, everybody's gonna leave me. What are you talking about? You left? Hell, I did everything Dad asked me to, and he ditched me too. No explanation, nothing, just...
Oh, no.
It just, like... It really bothers me sometimes that they almost kind of reconcile John's character to him being a good dad. Like, he's not.
He's really not. No, he's really not.
But I'm not going to talk about that now. Yeah, sorry.
It's kind of interesting. So we know in the last episode, we kind of blamed Sam for being the first person to keep the secrets. Yeah. But I don't think he is. It's Dean. He's the one who's not being honest about, like, how he... I mean, granted, this monster is focusing on the negative, like, of Dean's character. Yeah. But I feel like Dean is purposefully, like, not acknowledging that he has these feelings about Sam. So it's sort of a lie through omission, which is kind of what Dean was getting at Sam at the beginning. You remember he was saying how, like, oh, I'm telling them that I'm on a road trip. And he's like, well, you're not telling them what you're doing on the road trip. It's like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I'm just on a road trip. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like a lie through omission.
Yeah. He's not telling... he's never told Sam the whole truth about what he actually thought about, like, John going missing, having to go and get Sam at Stanford. You know, he probably feels guilty that Jessica got involved somehow because he turned up. And, you know, I think I said this before, like, he probably wants Sam to go back to his normal life, but realizes now that it's not possible. Mm-hmm. There's just so much there. Yeah. But also, like, you know, he's saying people abandon him. You know, like, Sam left, John left. And it just goes back to, you know, can't get close to people. There's a lot to unpack here. It's all of Dean's issues in sort of a single speech by this shifter.
Yes, yeah, and, like, surely none of that gets resolved.
No, it doesn't.
Like, literally every person that... So, I'm not sure if... Is it at this point where the shifter says he just wants to be loved, or is that a little bit later?
It's a little bit later when it's at Becky's house, but let's go. Yeah. I think, because the shifter threatens Becky and then kind of knocks Sam out again, and then like he goes to Becky's house and they have he's like, shifter Dean is flirting with her heavily, just being creepy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was very, very creepy.
But he says things like, you know. Yeah, like, oh, don't people just want to be, like, loved?
It's funny. I kind of understand him. He's all alone. Close to no one. All he wants is for someone to love him. He's like me.
And I think he's saying that he can sympathize with the monster because they're talking about the shifter and how it might have come to be. So he says like that maybe there was like a child that was born who had certain like, I don't know, I guess powers isn't the right word, but you know what I mean, that made them an outcast and, you know, a social pariah, and he can kind of understand how that would feel because, you know, it's a whole, like, they're merging those two characters together, like making those parallels between, you know, although Dean's with John because of what happened to Mary, he was kind of born into this life as well. I think they talk about them being freaks. The word freaks is used a lot in this episode, actually.
Yeah, it is. I did write that, like, the monster is really trying to get sympathy at this point, and it does kind of work a little bit, but at the same time, like, clearly this monster, like, we never get to see its own face, right? It's never, because, it's never its own face. So, like, it was probably, like, it's going with his story of being a child and being a social pariah and stuff. Like, that doesn't give you the right to then start killing people.
Yeah.
So, like, he's trying to play this victim, but it's really, like, it kind of, to relate it back to, like, what's happening in the world, like, you see that mentality in some of these, like, kids who go to, like, the schools and get, like, that excuse of, like, well, I was bullied. Well, it doesn't give you the right to kill people.
Yeah.
So, like, this is kind of a little bit like that. So he's trying to get sympathy, but it's just like,
it doesn't feel any way sympathetic, no, at all. Especially because he's like real creeping on Becky. That made me really uncomfortable. But I'm glad she isn't going with it. She's like, no, get out of my house.
So this is where, like, he whispers something, which I think is what, like, that rejection is what makes him kill people.
Yeah. But
we don't know what it is that he whispers to her.
No, but yeah, so yeah, it's the rejection of people that makes him kill people, this shifter. So, like, we see that once he rejects him, that he, like, acts out.
It was very interesting how they did this, because he then attacks her, but they never really show, like, I do like that they never really show him fully hitting her in the face. Like they've had fights with men, and they show, like, the punches to the face, and there's that kind of a quick cut to, like, the monster's about to, like, she's on the floor and he's about to, like, knock her out with his punch to the head, and they don't show it, which I think is a smart move, because it is, like, I felt very uncomfortable even watching
me
that
too.
whole thing play out. So it was kind of, it's also kind of interesting. This is, like, one of the first monsters that isn't inhumanly strong.
It's like a bit strong. I think it's like a bit stronger than that's what but yeah, more acts like looks like a human and kind of acts like a human as well. Yeah, creepy. To be honest. So yeah, like he ties up Becky, and it does cut back. So it cuts back to Sam in the sewer, and this whole time we don't know where Dean is.
Yeah.
But luckily, he's just around the corner.
Under a blanket.
Under a blanket.
Or tarps type situation.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so to kind of break the flow a little bit, so I apologize for this, but this is another thing I noticed. The continuity issue with the rope around Sam. Like, one time it's, like, up on his shoulder, and then suddenly it's across his chest. I was like, really? You can't... This is basic stuff, people. So...
Yeah. So they talk between them as they're tied up about the shifter, and there's a Star Trek reference, Annabelle.
Yeah, I did get that.
He says it's like a psychic connection, like a Vulcan mind meld, which I wonder is because Tom Paris was directing this. I was going to call him Tom Paris. Whether that was because he was directing it, they put a little Star Trek reference in there. I don't know. Yeah. But I quite liked that. Dean, once he's awake, manages to get out those ropes real easy. And then he unties Sam.
So his face while he's, like, so his hands are behind his back, and he's like, I guess this must be some sort of rusty something, so he's like rubbing his arms back and forth. But his face while he's doing that just made me laugh so much. It was just like, it's like a bass face. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, no, I know. Duck face, yeah. I know.
Duck face.
Yeah.
It was just... But, so, I mean, so this goes back to, like, what you were saying. Like, you can tell this is, like, the Dean that we are currently with. Not the Dean...
Yeah, you know it, right? His face is expressive.
Yeah. It was very... Now that you mentioned it, I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, the subtle acting, I love it.
They get out of the sewer, and they're like running through the dark streets, and like I didn't realize how buff Dean was in the beginning. Like, there's something about a grey clothing, especially, but grey t-shirts and grey like sweatpants is very, very nice. But grey shirts, and like because they're like running through the back streets and it's all like dark lit and stuff. Yeah, and, like, I don't know, he just looks like a...
It's because we haven't seen Dean with this few amount of clothes on, and by few amount of clothes I mean t-shirt and jeans.
This is true. It cuts to... So the monsters ran away from Becky, it looks like, because we see him running through the sewers, and then it's the grossest body horror sequence. It's disgusting. Yeah. Like, the skin's coming off, and like his teeth.
The teeth. Oh, it's so horrible. I mean, so yeah, because it's that stuff, okay. And then it just goes. I remember this sequence being gross.
Oh, it starts off better than okay. Dean takes his shirt off.
I read some trivia on IMDb that said this was included because Kripke kept getting requests from fans for Dean to take his shirt off, but I don't know if that's just crack or what. That someone put on that show.
I mean, maybe. Who knows? Maybe. But I don't think we've already had that like slow pan up his body, so you know.
They knew what they were doing. they knew. And then that just leads into the like most horrible, grossest like. It's one of the worst sequences ever. Like body morphing sequences I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. It's good. It's gross enough that it's interesting.
They know that the police are after him now because that beginning scene that we were introduced to has just played.
Yeah, exactly.
Before the monster goes down into the sewers and sheds its skin, literally.
Yeah, so like we actually see like Shifter Dean like fight those SWAT guys and run off. Yeah. So he didn't get caught at this point, which it makes it look like he probably did get caught at the beginning of the episode, but now we know he didn't.
And so they, I think it then cuts back to Sam and Dean like running, and they roll up onto the Impala.
Yeah, like before this, like. Dean's saying how this is really personal now, like how dare he take my face, like the thought of him driving my car. And Sam's just like, let it go.
I would have thought of him driving my car.
All right, come on,
it's killing me.
let it go.
Which is really I don't know, it just again it felt really familiar between in their dynamic to how they are later on. Just let it go, Dean. As they turn up, it's like woo, and the police are there.
Yep.
So Sam lets himself get arrested, which is never shown or brought up again, and we don't know how he got out of it.
Yeah, I know.
But he did. He must have got arrested because he lets Dean go. Mm-hmm. And says to him, "Don't go to the sewer alone." And then it basically immediately cuts almost to like Dean goes to the sewer alone.
Yep.
This is one of my favourite things in TV shows. I think it only really happens in TV shows where people say, don't do the thing, and then the next shot is them doing the thing.
And while he's in the sewers, he comes across Becky.
Exactly, yeah. So when I was watching this, I thought that Becky was the shifter initially tied up in the sewers because of the like non-reaction she had to Dean showing up. After he just tied her up and like
so I'm well, yeah, but like because it never shows like how she got into the sewer.
Yeah.
Because the SWAT team's there.
Yep.
They rescue her.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's in the sewer.
Now she's in the sewer. What happened in between? Maybe we're just being dense, but because
maybe
there must have been some gaps, some gap in time between them escaping the sewer, because obviously Sam gets arrested, and then Dean goes to find the monster in the sewer, and he finds Becky, but then it cuts back to Sam talking to the other Becky at her house. So there must have been some time there where Dean's on the run, for Sam to also get out of wherever he's been arrested.
Yeah, and so I guess that body horror like sequence is because we don't see who the monster turns into. So I guess he turns into Becky at that point.
I guess so, yeah.
So that's probably why she trusts Dean, because Becky shows up to Becky, basically.
Yes, so she sees herself. That would make sense. So it all clicks in her mind then. Oh, this was a second like person monster thing. So, when Dean turns up, I mean, but would she initially trust him still? Because how does she know that he's not the shifter? Anyway, it all works out. And they go and save Sam because they realise that Sam must be with the shifter because he went to go see Becky. So they go to save Sam, who's been talking to Becky, and she's offering him beer and stuff. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, she glasses him round the head and knocks him out. Mm-hmm. And then when it cuts to Sam again, we see him tied up, and the shifter has shifted back into Dean. I guess just to mess with him.
I'm wondering if he, like, because he says something about, like, he's liking this face.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more to do with the fact that, like, so Dean has obviously the shifter can take on the skill set of the people he, takes over. So Dean has a lot of good skill sets, which would be very helpful in what this, monster wants to do.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more to do with that rather than, like, anything else. Like, it's a good skin to be in.
It could. I think so. I also think maybe we've seen parallels, right, in this whole episode between the shifter and with Dean. Maybe how they think about things. This is a darker side of Dean's personality, I guess. This, whole being like cast out from society, being left behind, like maybe wanting to get closer to people but not being able to. So maybe he's finding some kind of affinity with like Dean, so kind of wants to stay in his skin. Ooh.
Yeah, of course.
So Sam manages to escape because he's on the floor. He's tied him up, but he manages to kick out with his legs and then cut his rope on a knife that the shifter's left conveniently within his reach.
Well, so I think that's kind of interesting because, like, Sam obviously thinks he's going to be stabbed in the heart, and he, like, stabs the table, and you can kind of see, like, the malicious smile that he does, and I was like, oh, that's going to come back to bite ya.
Exactly. I didn't write much about their fight here, other than it was good. I thought it was a good fight.
It was very, I feel like it kind of put a lot of feelings on the table.
Yeah, I think
so.
I
feel like, because they had like a similar fight. Obviously, Dean and Sam, Dean and Sam, had a bit of a scuffle in that very first episode. Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's like Sam's being a bit like, haha, I can get you back now, but he does not have the upper hand.
He does not have the upper hand. I think Dean even says, like, even when we were little, like, I could kick your ass, which I don't think has anything else behind it other than, like, kids fight a lot.
No.
But
and it's just his brother's fighting, right?
Yeah, I used to fight with my brother all the time. Like, you grow out of it, hopefully.
You should do.
You should do, yeah, definitely. So they have a good fight, and then Shifter Dean gets like a stranglehold on Sam, so he's like sat on his chest, like strangling him. Luckily, the actual Dean turns up and smacks him, and then shoots him twice.
Yep,
like
straight
very
in the
quickly.
heart.
Yep, straight in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Very good shot.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he bends down. So like, it's again, I think because it's like I'm watching it on a rather big TV screen and like it's in very high definition.
Yeah.
But the sort of the way that they did this is they had taken a still shot of Dean, like they where Dean had died, quote unquote died. They did basically a screen cap of that, and had him like bend down to look at him, and it didn't really hold up. It didn't really hold up.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Like, it's only a very brief shot, I guess, and then it cuts back to actual Dean as he takes the necklace back from the very important necklace back from the shifter, and I really like the transition shot of that because he takes it back, and then the next shot is outside, and it starts from the necklace and pans up to his face. Did you notice that?
I did. That was good. I was going to say, it's kind of interesting that he's so attached to this necklace, and it's just like, if he had just left it there, I wonder how much of this story would have been different. But anyway, what were you going to say?
Is this the first time that we see Dean die? I think it definitely is.
Yes, it is.
I know it's not Dean, but it is Dean. Yeah.
Yep, this is the first time we see him die.
Many.
One of many.
One of many. So, I mean, luckily they shot the shifter while he was still in Dean's body, which wraps this whole story up nicely in a big old ball, because the police are now blaming, they do a whole little speech about how the police are now blaming this guy called Dean Winchester, and they think that he did all these murders, and that somehow helped Zach out. Yeah. And I'm sure that's never going to come back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, of course not. Not at all.
So it's convenient, but I mean, the show doesn't let them get away with it, I don't think, this time. It is, again, like, this is brought up later.
And it's kind of, like, I thought it was kind of interesting, the conversation that Becky and Sam have. Because, you know, she actually accepts that, you know, this is what he does now. Like, he goes and fights all these monsters, and it's kind of like Sam may never have had to hide everything. I mean, I guess it's different when you're confronted with everything, so it's a little bit easier to accept it. But I don't know. He may realize that he might not have had to, you know, lie definitely. All those years.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the thing is, though, I don't know how much he learns from this lesson. That maybe, you know, he could be more open with people. I don't think that's a lesson learned by either character.
Not at all.
As we go through. I mean, they have, like, the end of this episode, they're sat in the Impala, and they don't really address anything that Shifter Dean said to Sam, because Dean kind of glosses over it. He says, you know, I wish you could have a normal life. You know, but he doesn't say anything about, and Sam doesn't bring up either, anything that was said by Shifter Dean to him.
So I think that Dean was out the entire time that conversation was actually happening. So the only way it's going to come up is if Sam says something, and we already know that Sam is okay with, like, keeping secrets. So this definitely comes up again. I feel, I don't truly remember when, but I really do think it comes up again.
I think so too. And do you know what? This show can go somewhere, but the last line of this episode, I'm out. I feel like I'm ready to quit. I don't know if I want to watch anymore. No, it's fine. But okay, Dean says,
you know, I gotta say, I'm sorry I'm gonna miss it.
Miss what?
How many chances am I gonna have to see my own funeral?
What's this? What are they doing? What are they doing to me? They personally need to pay for my therapist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Why should we just quit here?
I think so. We're done, people. I think we realize we're never going to get out. We're going to be stuck here forever.
We're stuck. We're giving up. Oh, it hurts so bad. It hurts so much. Okay. I don't know what else to say about that. I don't know what else to say about that line other than, why are you doing this to me? I feel personally victimized by the show Supernatural.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Okay. What did we think about this episode overall? Really good episode, I thought.
Yeah. It definitely had, like I said, foreshadowing of certain events, and like sort of really, this is really an interesting character development on both ends, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And because we know what's going to happen, like it's tough. It's tough to like listen to some of it, especially when, you know, the monster Dean is kind of saying about just wanting to be loved, and I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And these conversations, I said this last week, they come up time and time again, and it does sometimes feel like a spiral. Like, they'll say these things, and sometimes they get built on, and sometimes they don't, and it is tough to listen to sometimes, these conversations in these early episodes, and thinking, you guys didn't always address this, did you? They need some.
I was gonna say, like, this whole, so they refer to themselves as freaks and stuff. Yeah. They're not freaks. Their family is just not very good at communicating, because if you think about it, like, it starts with Mary, really. Yeah. So of course, like, if their family had never learned to actually communicate, they don't know how to do it.
You're completely right. The secrets start at the beginning, and they keep going. Maybe Supernatural is just a show about the perils of keeping secrets. Maybe that's the lesson we learned along the way.
Yep. You can keep secrets, but not, like, you know, stuff that's going to get other people killed.
Yeah, they're kind of important. Right, let's leave it there. The next episode is Hookman.
I hate this one.
I don't remember
creepy.
it. I don't remember it at all.
It's that scarecrow thing, and he's like, ha, you're fake, and then it's like not fake.
Oh, I thought there was another episode that was just called Scarecrow. That's the Scarecrow one. Maybe there's 2 Scarecrow episodes.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
I don't know now. Guess we don't.
We'll find out.
We thought. Yeah, exactly. Alright, well, we'll have to watch it now, because I don't know what happens in it. And as I said at the beginning, I don't think there's any filler episodes anymore.
No, I think you're right on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I think rewatching these episodes, it's a journey through purgatory. I feel like we're heading deeper in the hope that one day we will get out.
Or someone's going to make a portal for us to get out.
Please. But I'm glad we're on this journey with you. See you next time.
Bye.